right, thanks, Zach. And thank y'all for, I said y'all, so obviously I'm from Texas. Okay, that's born and raised there. My name is Scott. I run the creative department of a consulting firm in Hampton called Ferrari. And I want to say thank y'all for coming here for your lunch hour or so here with me. And also I want to go ahead and just give it up for Zach and what he's doing here at Hatch. I mean, this is some really good stuff here. Really, a lot of good happening here in Hampton Roads for the area. So, yeah, let's go ahead and jump in. What we're going to talk about is how to build your brand. Okay, these are principles that I use for every client, and what I think about pretty much all day long, every day. And through this process, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and discuss, kind of reveal like the challenges associated with this, but also we're going to end kind of like with a workshop type of format. Okay, like I'm going to ask some questions, and then maybe I'll encourage y'all to write down what you how you feel, how you can build that brand, and maybe by the end of this you can walk away with kind of like a baseline, if you will, of what your brand is going to be. Okay, or how to better build your brand. All right, so before we get started, how many people are entrepreneurs in this room, have their own business? Oh, okay, pretty much everybody. All right, great, this is excellent for y'all. How many people feel like I know you're here, so you want to learn a little bit about branding, but how many feel that the brand could use a little bit of work? Anybody? Okay, all right, good, this is right for y'all. Let's go ahead and start off about who we are. All right, so we are a design innovation company. We specialize in 3 distinct areas: management consulting, technology development, and creative. I run the creative section of it. I manage probably we're getting up to 10 brands now, and I love every second of it. We design the strategy for each brand, build it out, create resonance out there in the marketplace for it. For the creatives, what we specialize, digging in a little bit deeper, we develop brands, we run marketing, advertising, website stuff, general marketing stuff, and then media, also video. We have a studio in our offices with a green screen and all that, and some really good cameras, and we're able to produce media for our clients. And we've been doing this in some form or fashion since 2008, and clients have been varied, and it's just been a fun experience. So I'm going to go ahead and shoot on forward here, and we're going to start with a few facts. Right, let's go ahead and define the problem. So consistent brands, I put this at the top because this is like the most important. Consistent brands are worth 20% more than those who are not consistent. Okay, so if you have an inconsistent brand, all right, like you are losing 20% of your value. That translates into $200,000 per $1 million. Right, so take what you're making, and if you have a inconsistent brand, it's costing you some money. There are 2.1 million negative social mentions about brands in the U.S. alone every single day. People are talking about brands. People are talking about brands specifically that they have a bad experience with. Okay, so if they have a bad experience, they don't like a brand, they will talk about it. All right, 54% of people do not trust brands. So there's a trust problem that you are going up against. All right, 45% of a brand's image can be attributed to what it says and how it says it. So there's a tone issue here. There's a perception issue. What are you saying into the marketplace? And that forms the perception of the brand. And 74% of online customers expect a brand's web content to be personalized to their interest. So the days of one size fits all is kind of over. Okay, so people, especially with today's technology, if I go to a site and I'm a doctor, I want to see stuff that's related to me, not just a general populace. And they're expecting that, and as we move into the future, that's going to be even more critical for your brand. We're going to go ahead and end with these little stats here. 70% of the buyer's journey is complete before they even reach out to sales. Okay, so you think the people are reaching out to you like are at the beginning stages? No, they're not. They've pretty much made up their mind. They're just wanting some confirmation. And it costs 6 times to attract a new customer than it does to keep an old one. We all know that. 92% of customers trust brand advocates. So brand advocates are like friends, third-party associates, affiliates, people that your customers trust and rely on for feedback and like tips and news, right? And then 75% of customers cited brand awareness as a major influencer in making a buying decision. So Lots of stats there I just listed out there, really to kind of define the problem, all right, or define, like in branding we always like to define the problem, but really define what branding is and the importance of it whenever it comes to your business. Okay, we're not talking about a logo, as Zach said. We're talking about things that are much more influential to the future success of your business. And what does that mean for you? So what does that mean to you? It means money, right? Like dollars. It means loyalty for your customers. As you develop a brand, what does the brand mean to them? What kind of trust, what type of relationships are you forming out there in the marketplace? It means competitive advantages over your competitors. A brand uniquely distinguishes you from everybody else that could be doing a similar thing out there in the marketplace, right? Sustainability, as the market goes up and down, a strong brand can sustain you through those tough times and really continue that revenue generation, continue that performance out there in the marketplace, and also will differentiate yourself, right? Like maybe you have a business that is easily replicatable. And if you've heard me talk before, this is probably one of my favorite parts about branding, is that if you are, I always use the example of a dentist. If you're a dentist, right, there's probably a million other dentists that can fix teeth the way that you can fix teeth. What makes you different? All right, what sets you apart? And it really is that brand identity, okay? And that's really what sets you at a higher value margin than your competitors. If you can separate yourself out, people are going to be willing to pay a little bit more to wait in line and to buy the next thing that you're going to put out, okay? So before we really get into what a brand is, let's go ahead and get this out of the way of what branding is not. It is not a logo. It is not a tagline. It's not a cool picture. It's not marketing and advertising. It is not public relations. Okay? Whenever I meet with a client and my first question is, tell me a little bit about your brand, and they say, hey Scott, man, I got a great logo. Let me tell you about my logo that I just made. And I will know in that moment that we have a long way to go. We really do. We have a mountain of knowledge that we need to get over, and an understanding so that we can get to a certain point where actually we can build this brand. But this, very important to understand. These are all tools that we use. These are all channels to communicate. These are tools to communicate the brand, but they are not your brand. Okay? What is the brand? Well, we're going to get to that. I'm just saying these are tools, not the end result. Okay? So what is branding? Number one, the most important thing when it comes to branding, if I could sum it up in one word, it is empathy. Okay? Being able to don. All right, if you're going to brand your company, you have to be able to don the perspectives, the needs, wants, and desires of your end user, of your customer. You need to know what they want. You need to know what emotions they're experiencing at all points along the journey as they're interacting with your brand, and you got to know how they want an interaction. Okay. A lot of people, a lot of business owners, ones that I've worked with, right? Like they've laid the foundation. They've taken the building blocks and they've built their company brick by brick, maybe even over 30 years, right? And like they think that they know their customers, right? But over that 30-year period, we've had social media, we've had 3D printing, we've had big data come out. Right, so the market is changing, and these guys that have built these companies over 30 years, it's really difficult, and it's really difficult to get out of our own skin too, even if your company's new, to understand, to take your perspective of what you think your company should look like, and how your customers should view your company, but really understand what your customers want, okay, and what your customers really want. And there's various tools that we use. There's different types of data collection. Surveys are really good, but interviewing with your customers, but trying to get a sense of what your customers really want. All right? So branding is value-oriented, okay? There's value propositions and everything, okay? It's always about the exchange of value. What functional and emotional value are you exchanging as you go through this process of developing a relationship, okay? Branding is emotional. Okay, branding is in itself, whenever you interact with the company and you want to form that long relationship with that brand, there's an emotional component. What is it? What do they identify with? What do they care about? Okay, branding is tangible. It is an actual thing. Okay, you can print it out, you can see it, you can even touch it. If you create a product, you can even sell it, you could buy it. Another thing that branding is, it is experiential. Whenever I go and interact with a company, I don't want to go and interact with a transaction house, right? I don't want to go to a company and say, like, all right, so let's do business upon the first time meeting you, right? And a lot of companies out there are saying, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me. Here's a social media channel. Here's Facebook. Here's Twitter, right? Go ahead and buy from me. Right? And that's all it is. Like us on Facebook. Everybody out there, every company, even a movie, they say, like us on Facebook. Why are they going to like you? Like, why should they like you? To interrupt their lives as they're looking at photos of their children and their best friends, right? Like you for what? Why should I like you? Why should I do business with you? Why should I care about you? Do you care about me? Right? Relationship based. This goes along with that caring, right? So what is the relationship that you want to build? As you project your company out there into the marketplace, as you project your brand, okay, and the values and the wants and the desires, and as you obtain that empathy and you're trying to communicate with your market, what kind of relationship do you want to build? What kind of interaction? Because branding in and of itself goes way beyond, again, logos, taglines, cool pictures, advertisements. We get into the realm of human interaction, okay? We get into the realm of building those friendships. And that's what you're doing with your brand, okay? You're going to build that relationship with your customers. You're going to understand what their experience journey is like, what their needs and desires are like, and you're going to tap into that. We're going to go ahead, we're going to get to that in a second, okay? And then meaningful. What kind of meaning do you have out there in the marketplace? What is your purpose on earth? Why did you decide, like, we're a consulting firm. Why are you a consulting firm? Why? Like, is it to make money? Is that it? Because if you want to make money and I'm a customer and that's all I sense from you is that you want to get something from me, like, I'm not going to build a relationship with you. I'm going to have a horrible experience. I'm going to view you as unemotional, and I'm not going to really sense much value beyond the transaction, okay? So I like equations. I like putting things in equations. You can't really put data points in this. I've had people ask me, hey, what are the data points that go into these things? How can I add it up? This is more of an idea, okay? Like a concept, a mindfulness, if you will. But branding, all that to say, branding is what you say about yourself, plus how you fulfill your value propositions, plus what your customers experience, all that multiply what your customers are saying. Does that make sense? Okay. So before we go ahead and get into this workshop thing, there are initial questions that I ask my clients, right? And this is a very brief version of that, but I always try to establish a baseline before we go into any journey, before we really develop a brand and get it out there and try to add meaning out there in the marketplace. We start off with these things. Now, I would like y'all to take just a couple of minutes to try to put at least a few words to this. Okay, answering this thing. So the first one, how would you describe your brand? Right, like how would you do it? And if anybody wants to share it with the group, more, that would be great. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
In my words, I would say that my brand would be active, penetrating, and revolutionizing.
Oh, okay, that's great. That's great. I get a good idea of what you're trying to put out there. All right. Anybody else? Yeah.
I'd say my brand is about empowering parents to teach positive sex education.
Okay. Great. Okay. So, all right. So, this is kind of like a baseline, like determine where you are. So that's where you are. That's where you are. That's good. So if I asked 100 people on the street, right, about your brand and organization, what would they tell me? If I asked people, yes. Who? 100 people on the street.
No. That's what they're.
Oh, they were saying.
Funniest thing you've ever said.
But what would they say? What would they say? And this is in your worksheet in the fill in the blank section. These questions are there.
That's not what he said. I know.
All right, next question. What do you want to be known for? Does anybody have an idea? Like 5 years out, what do you want people to be saying about you? Yeah? Go ahead.
Oh, it was me.
Yeah, yes, you.
I would like to say in the next 5 years that
this company that I do my best to build is the brand, Accounting Sucks, is just the best place for entrepreneurs and freelancers and small business owners to get that education, get that accounting education that they need to thrive and grow as a business owner.
Very good. Yeah. All right. Anybody else? Yeah.
Again, in progress, but I want to be known for a way to help artists do what they love to do without dealing with the business side. And then also the people buying those products being super ecstatic at what they're getting, the value that they're getting for what they paid.
But what okay, I heard what you want to do. What do you want to be known for? This is more like, what do your customers think about your business from their perspective?
Well, integrity, reliability, fun, creativity. I mean, I don't know, is that going in the right direction?
Oh, well, no, this is, I'm just kind of guiding
Right.
To your answer. Okay, yes.
I want to be known for intricate, custom-made products.
Intricate, custom-made products.
Yeah, because I make jewelry, so I want my brand to be like, you have this one-of-a-kind piece that no one else will have.
Great, great. So that's what you want your customers to feel. Okay, excellent, excellent. Okay, and last part, is there a disconnect? And the disconnect is, well, where's the disconnect in between any of these three answers, right? Like, who are you? Who people think you are? What do you want to be known for? And is there a disconnect between those things? Primarily about how would you describe the brand and what other people view your brand as? Or if you don't have a company that's set up and going and you have 100 customers, what do you want to be known for? What's the disconnect between who you are and what do you want to be known for? And that's the area that we want to work in. Okay, that's the area. That's the place we want to focus in. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and move on. Excellent. These are excellent starting point questions. I recommend if you want to put some more thought into it, please do. So now, how do you build the brand? The reason why you're here, right? Like, how do you do it? So we have brand ingredients. Now, every customer, every client is different, right? This is a framework that is modifiable, but this is a general, again, starting point that we use to build these brands out, okay? And it's kind of a methodology, conceptual thing, and we're going to work through this together, and by the end, you're going to have a rough idea of where to take your brand, okay? So these are what they are, starting from the top down. Core essence, like your mantra, the social cachet, your brand attributes, emotional and functional benefits, and then specific products and services, okay? And they look like this. This is how they all come together. It is what the brand pyramid, right? Pretty corporate, isn't it? But it does work like this. And every time we work through it, and we do this for pretty much every single client. This is where we start. And it's kind of how we discover the brand, discover where are the gaps, where's the customer missing it. And also from that we branch off to competitive profiles, different personas. I mean, this is really a powerful tool that actually completely touches almost every part of your business. So what we have is products and services, features and attributes at the very bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and define this real quick. What these do is we list out every product, every service, every feature that the customer will be purchasing, or a reason why your customer's purchasing. So if you are selling cupcakes, right? And we would list out the cupcakes. We would list out vanilla, chocolate, my wife's favorite one. It's the red one. Red velvet. Red velvet. Wedding cupcakes. And we would list out every cupcake and we would say, why does that matter? Why does this product matter? Okay? And yes, it's tedious. Yes, it does take a long time to do this, to really think it out. What are the features and attributes of those things? We're going to get to that. Now, the next level up is we're getting a little bit away from the specific products, right? We're getting into the company overall value and features. We're getting into the functional benefits and the emotional benefits. If we're sticking with the example of the cupcake maker, then we're going to talk about the the function of eating, how it tastes, right? Like what's it like to peel the little covering off? What does it taste like, right? But also the emotional benefits. Like I would talk about if I'm having a bad day, it would provide me comfort, you know? It would provide a nice end to a great meal, you know? Like what are the emotional benefits of shopping at my cupcake establishment? And we're going to continue this cupcake thing because I'm liking it. I'm liking it. And because it's making me hungry. I did not eat lunch. All right, and then we got brand attributes, right? This is the personification stage, right? So we talked about specific services, emotional, functional. Now we're talking about personality. This is my favorite part of the brand experience, right? And I mentioned this in our interview, Zach. It was if your company were a person, who would it be and why, right? Like getting that kind of persona behind your business, that personality. What's the tone? How does it move, you know? Then we got the social cachet, which is a badge of honor, okay? And the best way to kind of conceptualize that is like Harley Davidson jackets. Like people will buy, like what are Harley Davidson jackets? That people will spend $200 for a leather jacket with like a Harley Davidson logo, you know, on the back. That's a corporate logo. You know, why would people do that? They're bolting onto themselves what they believe Harley Davidson like stands for. They identify with that. They like that, and then they want to broadcast that to the world. Hey, whatever Harley Davidson says, that's me too. And I want you to think of me as like a Harley Davidson guy or a Prius, you know, person. Like they drive in a Prius, you're kind of saying to everybody else that you care for the environment, right? So there's like a social cachet that's being like communicated non-verbally out. What is yours? Do you have one? And I guarantee you, every business has one. Even the mechanic has one. Even a dry cleaner has one, okay? Even an employee has a social cachet. All right, then the last one, the top, probably the funnest. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's hard to get to this. I would say it's kind of difficult to get to a good one. The core essence, the mantra of the business. What do you stand for? That is your reason. That is the reason why you exist. Okay, and that's the capstone that's supported by everything else. All right, so are you all ready to go through this, to get to work on this? How much time do I have? Good. All right. So we're going to go ahead and work through this with simple question and answer, okay? So a complete list, you don't have to do a complete list, but there's a worksheet in front of you. You can write this down. So what specifically do I offer my customers, and why does it matter? And that's probably the most important part of this entire thing. Why does it matter that you offer that thing? And it can't be, don't write down because people will buy it, okay? It has to go beyond, like what's its role? I'll be happy to answer any questions. Yes?
And Zach, how did you put it, like a double, what we were talking about this morning? Like
Double-sided marketplace.
double-sided marketplace. So, because I have clients on this side, artists on this side, but I'm trying to advertise both, like
Yeah.
it almost feels like two different, you know, because I've got to appeal to the artist and I've got to appeal to the client. So like, for this particular thing, should I maybe just focus on one side of that for this?
I would say for this class, pick the one that's the most important to you.
Okay.
But I would recommend afterwards, go ahead and branching it out. Like and that would be in this area as well. Features and benefits for both markets.
Okay.
There was a client that we had that wanted their website to operate as, of course, an advertising communication medium, but they also wanted to use it to attract high-performing talent. Okay, and that was like a major customer problem. All right, and that one website had to communicate to both, and everything that we do is kind of woven in there. So when we did this, we got to this stage and we actually listed out every product and service, and we did like the feature and benefit for each product and service for each market.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean this part probably takes the longest
Sure.
overall.
So that's not theoretical, what I offer my customers, you literally mean the product.
I literally mean the product. Like every product and service, and if you have a software, I would say each feature, I would list a feature.
I teach workshops, would each individual topic that I discuss, or the workshop as a whole?
Are there like themes with workshops?
I break them down by age and then topic,
I would break them down by That
as far as you can. I
as far as you can. Everything needs to have like a reason attached to it. I'll give y'all, I guess, another minute. Yes, sir.
Scott, while you guys work on this, let me ask you a question. How do you pronounce the name of your company?
It's Perari, like Ferrari with a P.
And where did you come up with that name?
Well, it's a Latin word. It means to be prepared. But if you dig deeper into the word Perari, it comes from a present infinitive version of a word called peraro, which means to bring forth, create, and design. And to grow. And so that's why you'll see go forth and create. That's where we get that.
And I noticed that you don't use a logo.
It's a typographic logo, but technically, yes.
Oh, I see, okay.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on. A little bit more fun. So next, we're on to the second level of the pyramid. If we go back, we're now here. A description of the emotional and functional benefits of each service. I wouldn't say each service. For this purpose, I would say functional, emotional benefits of your overall business. Okay, of the main, let's call them core components of your business. Okay, and it's really important to differentiate everything based on functional and emotional benefits. I can't stress that enough. A lot of people stop with functional benefits, like my shop is open 8 to 10, and I deliver to these addresses. Like I do this thing that is great. This is a functional thing. They think that defines them. While that is good, it doesn't do what we want branding to do, which is connect emotionally, right? To produce meaning out in the marketplace, to deliver and drive that trust down. So for every segment that's a core component of your business, let's say it's a service of accounting, like a gentleman there was talking about accounting. Right, so if it's bookkeeping or tax returns, or accounts payable, those are core areas of the business. What is the functional and emotional benefit of that? Okay, and we to give like a personal example, we were developing an application, and we got to the prototyping usability phase. So we had a rough prototype, and we kind of released it to a select market. And what we found was that even though the technology that we had in the app was like really cool, people didn't know what to do with it, okay? Because we didn't think through the emotional value propositions. All right, you're really creating your value propositions here. We did not think through the emotional value propositions that actually made the app come alive, and like enjoyable. People would want to use it over again. They just saw a functional thing that was cool, and then that was it, okay?
Using my service?
No, what they feel. This is all empathetic, right? So what do you want?
They feel about my service.
Yeah, what do you want them to feel about your business, about that service that they're experiencing? Yes?
How can that be taken beyond just like peace of mind that you're going to do that thing for them?
Mm-hmm.
Like what would be another example other than just a peace of mind sort of thing?
Okay, well, yes, I do agree. There are top level stuff, and we want to get a little bit deeper. So with yours is event planning, from what I understand. So, I mean, off the top of my head, I would go along the route of, like, I would get down to, like, who are you talking to? Are you talking to purchasing managers? Are you talking to business owners, right? So these people are like, they probably need this advertisement. If it's small business, I worked in a small business, and I interacted with media groups to do advertisement because we needed top-of-mind awareness. I could say from personal experience that they wanted advertising to help make payroll, They got all these other problems in their lives. They got suppliers, they got employees they got to pay, they got taxes. Maybe they got marriage problems, Like what's going on in this person's life? Maybe they have a boss that they need to impress, and it's the middle of the year, so they're or it's the end of the year, and then taxes are due, and everybody knows budgets are going to be set. Just questions like that. Like, you got peace of mind, yeah, but what does that mean for that person? Does it mean that person's job is going to be saved? Does it mean you can act like they will actually feel relief to get money in so that they can pay their people, like really try to understand what's going on in their head whenever they're interacting with you, and what do you want them to believe about you? Because we're creating beliefs here, right? Like it or not, we're creating beliefs. And so for each service, what do you want them to believe? What do you want them to feel?
That's helpful, what you just said about belief. What do you want them to believe about
Yeah.
what you can do, I guess, for them?
Well, what do you want them to believe about you? Not what you
Yeah.
can do, but just about you in general. About, when I hear, okay, if I was to show you the Nike swoosh up here, and I would say, right, and let's just pretend the Nike swoosh is here, right? What words come to your mind? What do you start thinking? What do you start thinking?
Basketball,
Strong.
sports,
Yeah.
Right? Active, right? If I showed the Apple logo,
Athlete.
what would you think there?
Smart.
Smart, okay.
Creative.
Technology, yeah.
Creative.
Innovative.
Expensive.
Right? About a third expensive, maybe even more than that. Exactly. Okay, but those things, the Nike swoosh and the Apple thing, those are just marks. We don't even really know what the swoosh is. It's just a line. It's like a check mark thing. An apple is just a picture of an apple with a bite out of it. And we don't even know why there's a bite out of it. We don't even know why it's named Apple. Right? But that symbol holds, it's like a meaning container. That's kind of how I think about it. Right? There are all these thoughts and associations that you have associated with those logos. And you have those associations not by any kind of accident. All right? That didn't just happen. Okay? That was actually created and formed. Okay? Before in the past, the reason why we need to take a very strategic look at brands is because in the past, if you had a problem with a company, right? Let's say I don't know, your car kind of broke down, and it was a lemon, it was brand new back in the 50s or whatever. Well, the only way that you could broadcast that and tell other people about it is if you wrote a note to the editor. And then that note would be received by an intern, and that intern maybe pass it on to an editor, and maybe your comments would be broadcast out to your local community. Right? But now we have this thing like a company can make a product and an ad, put it out there, and then people can make their own ads in response to it. In real time. And so you as a business owner, you need to know that people are going to be talking about you, either in personal face-to-face communication or online. And so this is really where the brand management, the strategy, really starts to really mean something to the bottom line of your business, okay? Because it's not an isolated, controlled environment that we're operating within. We're operating with humans, okay? Yes?
Is this understanding correct? We're getting to that the subconscious, level where it's they don't even realize it, but when they smell the cupcake shop, they feel comforted, they feel relaxed, they feel, that kind of thing. So this is almost like that subconscious need that they don't even know they have, where it's we want to get to that level so that they don't even think about it, but when they think of our brand, they're like, ooh, yeah, I really like them.
Absolutely, that's the goal, okay. Right? And that's the pinnacle, what do you stand for? They need to automatically refer to that, okay. Like the apple. You have all those perceptions that immediately come to mind, and it was just a thing, just a marking, but you had all those feelings, okay? And you had that feeling, last point, and I'll move on. Last point, and you had those feelings about those logos and those businesses, and people have those feelings with your businesses as well, right? After repeated exposure to either your business directly or your products directly, or by people who have already interacted with your business and have an opinion. Okay, so that's the only way that they're going to develop this idea of what you stand for and what your company is about. Okay, after repeated exposure. So it's important that you consistently present your brand, its personality, its tone, consistently throughout your sites, throughout all social mediums. Okay. All right, gonna go on. Brand attributes, persona. This is the fun one. All right. So I'm going to ask a question, and I'd like some people to answer me because I love hearing these answers. I've heard everything from Chopin to Jimi Hendrix. musicians are really popular. All right. So if my business were a person, who would it be and why? Does anyone know? Yes.
All right, there's a musician, a singer, I'm pronouncing her name wrong, but it's Janae Aku. Anyway, she has a song called The Wanderer, right?
Okay.
And Spotless Mind is the name of the song. And in the video, she is in her own persona, she fits into these different boxes. Like she's like the goddess, and she's free flowing, and she has like a headdress. And
Oh,
she's
that's
like
cool.
gothic, and she's
Yeah.
like shooting the guns at the
intense.
arcade, and then
Yeah.
she's like all prissy, and she's like wiping down the.
Yeah, it's a variety of
Yeah, and
emotions
that
here.
is kind of what my business is. Very eccentric, but kind of like.
All right. I like that. I like that. Okay, I think you have I have no idea what you're talking about, but I think you do, and that's great. That's a great thing. Like, I'm happy for that. And I'm going to look that up. What's the song called?
Spotless Mind. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Yes.
So my business or a person would be a millennial mom or dad, inspired to raise their children better than they were. They're realistic and dislike the shame and fear around sex.
Okay. Now, if it were a person, what one person?
It would be a millennial mom.
Millennial mom. Okay. I like that. That's good. All right. Yes.
Don't laugh. Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Because
Music is
she's,
popular.
I don't know, the impression, obviously I don't know her, the impression I get from her is that she's confident in what she does, even if she's not the best one out there. The creative side, the fact that she's gone, country and now pop, she's versatile, she's creative. She also, for me, she instills a sense of like, I would just like to know her. Like, she seems really nice.
She's my friend.
She's down to earth. She's, and I like the stories she tells. And I just would like her in my life, and I want people to want me in their life.
Okay.
So,
Very cool. Very cool. Every answer, awesome so far. Awesome. I love it. Anyone else? All right. I know that y'all are thinking about it, though. Let me tell you the reason why this is important. So you have a company, and we've gone through the services, we've gone through the functional, emotional benefit. Right, now we're at the persona stage. So how does your brand live online? How does it live out there in the marketplace? What is the personality behind it? Okay, what is the like, is a person Taylor Swift, or an eccentric person, or a mom, that has strong opinions about sexual issues, right? Like, knowing personality needs to be solidified and communicated every time you interact with people. A good example is if I'm the happy dentist. If I say that I'm the happy dentist, all right, and I think I've said, has anyone heard me say it? Did I say it? I love the example. If I say I'm the happy dentist, okay, and I'm the happiest dentist that has ever looked inside of a mouth, all right, and I say that out there. So this is what I say, all right, this is my communication channel, this is my marketing, right? Someone comes into my dentist office, all right, and then they go up to the receptionist, and the receptionist is the grumpiest person to have ever done any kind of recepting ever, right? There's a disconnect between the personality that I'm communicating out there into the marketplace and then what I'm actually experiencing when I'm interacting with the company. Okay, so to break it down even further, it's a marketing issue, and then there's also an operations issue. Okay, now we're talking about operations. So the personality, the free-flowing kind of eccentric thing needs to be communicated not only with like how you present yourself online, but your employees need to like represent that brand too, and how they answer the phone, how they even return an invoice. What is the personality behind what you're doing? Okay, and that provides consistency. That actually elevates your chances to hit that 20% more value mark that we talked about earlier in this presentation. All right, so I'm going to move forward. Anybody have any other questions? Okay. Social cachet. All right, this is where you can be a little vain. All right, vanity is okay now. All right, so does anyone understand what the concept of cachet is? It's okay if not. All right, so social cachet. If I have a pool party, okay, all right, and with a pool table, so we're having like a double pool party, and all my friends come over, and we're all wearing like gray suits, and I say, hey, I have a financial advisor at this that manages my, not money, wealth. I have wealth now. So if I have someone that manages my wealth, and this is that person, right? What am I telling other people, right? It's not that my money is managed, right? Or my wealth is managed. It's that it's being managed by this person. And that person that I'm kind of communicating to my friends says something about me. I want my friends to think that I am smart, that I'm really good with money, that I'm rich, right? You know? So if I'm driving a Cadillac, what am I telling other people? That I have certain tastes, that I'm at a certain position in life, that I'm at a certain level in my income. I'm communicating that out, and I'm attaching that to a specific brand, to a specific corporate logo, all right? A corporate logo. So with your organization, when people associate with you, they say, hey, I'm going to go to this person's business, right? I'm going to get my event planning done, you know, stuff like that. What do you want them to be saying about themselves to their friends? It's a social cachet. It's your social capital. It's a little bit harder. We're getting higher up in the pyramid. It's a little bit harder to achieve, but we still need to think about it. Any questions? Anybody want to reveal what their answer was? Yes.
I thought that they're saying that I'm not afraid of being outside the box and getting personalized items. I don't have to look like you or you like me.
Oh. Yeah. See, what you're doing is you're furthering your understanding of your empathetic view of the customer right now, and that's going to have an impact with your communication just by answering that question. I love it.
I liked it.
They're saying that I'm not afraid of being outside the box and getting quality personalized items. I don't have to look like you and you don't have to look like me.
Excellent.
I want that social benefit.
It's nice.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on here. Now we're at the very end. The core essence. What is your essence? Right? So the question is, who are we and why does that matter? Most important part is, why does that matter? Because you can say, I mean, we're a consulting firm, but why does that matter? I tell people I'm in it because I want to destroy meaninglessness. Like, I'm tired of going out there and I see like meaningless businesses, people working all their lives, you know, and they just, you know, they didn't put any meaning into it. No one gets it. Like, I want to give them meaning, man. It's for me personally. Can't say that for Ferrari. But mantra.
Example of that.
Yeah, so Coca-Cola's is, they call it a brand promise, which is kind of the same thing. Like, we could swap terms and stuff. But like Coca-Cola, you would think it would be like the highest concentrated volume of carbonated sugar water, you know, like given to you in a cold, you know, package, right? Theirs is to produce moments of happiness and to uplift. Okay? So if you think about that, like think about that mantra, produce moments of happiness and to uplift. And you think about like their commercials, right? Like I remember like you know, just really happy, you know, makes me feel nice, you know, like watching it. There's like Coke bottles dancing, right? Like,
The polar bears.
and the polar bears, fantastic. Yeah.
Or the Budweiser horses.
the
I don't even drink Budweiser. horses.
Yeah, the horses. But all of that kind of creates that brand mantra, like what they stand for. Another one is Ritz-Carlton. I say Carlton because we're here. Ritz-Carlton, which is ladies and gentlemen serving ladies and gentlemen. It's the same one. I like that one. It's really nice. So you think like it kind of goes beyond. It goes beyond like we do this, you know, to help, you know, do this thing, right? It's a thing that all your marketing communications and operations can kind of point to and say, how do I behave? Oh yeah, that's our mantra. So I'm going to behave in a way that's kind of like our essence. Okay. So ladies and gentlemen, serving ladies and gentlemen marketing impacts how people serve other people there, and also creates an idea of what it's like to stay at a Ritz-Carlton. You know, I love it. So it's hard to do that for companies. You were first.
Oh, I just have my thing. I was wondering if you were ready for things.
If I was what?
If you were ready for...
If I was ready for your example? Absolutely, yeah.
So I said, we said why does it matter is the most important. So I said, to increase opportunity for individuality and self-expression.
All right. I would kind of play around with the individual and self-expression there, kind of shorten it down, kind of play with that thought. I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if mine is big picture enough or specific enough, but no person deserves to feel shame or fear about themselves, their bodies, or their relationships.
Okay. All right. So is that a reason why you exist?
To me, yeah.
Okay. All right. I would get it again a little bit shorter.
Okay.
A little bit shorter. Maybe a trick would be to say like Coke would be to produce moments of happiness and to uplift, right? Like, or I think it was like create moments of happiness. But start with the preposition to. That would be a good one.
Okay.
Or maybe an ing word, creating, making.
This is another part of that the double business thing that I'm just like, I don't know how to.
So yours is artists.
Connecting artists with the clients and people who meet them. And I want it to be, it's got to be quality artists. Like, it's not just going to be Joe Schmo off the street. Like, they have to go through a little bit of a rigor. So it's going to be quality artists connecting with businesses and clients who need them and want.
I manage a couple of fine arts people, and I know, and I'm not a fine arts person, but I know that like creating art like goes beyond just creating art.
Right.
You know, like they want to birth something.
It's part of them. Yeah.
part of them.
Okay, so giving maybe might be part of that. Like giving. Yeah. Okay.
So it's like producing that thing, like connecting that thing with that thing,
Okay.
right? Like
Yeah.
creating the spirit of art, of creativity with those who love it or something like that, you know? Like connecting them and them.
Yeah.
But like get to a fundamental level.
Yeah.
I like that.
I'll keep working.
Anybody else? Okay. Next steps. Here's your homework. Okay? Finish filling out your brand worksheets. Identify, this is the best way to use this kind of exercise as you go moving forward, is to try to identify opportunities to better align your business and your brand. Okay? And pick out the most important, pick a communication channel, but also pick out like an operations, like a customer-facing operations point, okay? So if you have someone working in a store or someone answering help desk emails, right? Like that's an operational kind of component. Try to see how they're doing it or how you're doing it, and maybe you can tailor that kind of, that task better to this brand that you're wanting to create, okay? So these are just opportunities to better align your business to your brand. Okay, and trust me, doesn't matter how big or small, there are numerous touch points that to work with because the brand experience journey is long. It's not just one point in time, right? And you got to think about different segments, where the customer is and their purchase decision. All right, try to establish brand performance metrics. Who has seen like a survey come through that says, would you recommend this product or service to your friends? Right? That's a very, very important, very common, and very powerful metric to use. Okay? Because being able to recommend that to your friend, right? If we go back to the like first couple slides where I showed you all the stats, right? It was like 74% of people, I think it was 74, trust brand advocates. So there's people who are influencing you to make a decision. So how likely would you be an influencer to your friends about this service? And that's a good gauge on if your brand is hitting the mark with those specific people. Okay, it's a good way if you have if you actually have people to survey. That's a good metric. But also site clicks, links. Try like Bit.ly links. You know, you can do all this for free kind of market research. But you want to understand what are your brand performance metrics? Okay, how many times are people smiling? You know, how many times are you answering a call like on the third ring? You know, I know that there's a server company in San Antonio, Rackspace, that their thing is that they're going to answer a phone call within 3 rings or less, and that's one of their brand like promises. That's one of their promises, and that supports their brand structure and stuff. And if you go into their call center, they like the first ring that comes in, it's like at the lower level. Second ring, second level. They've actually built sophisticated ring technology into their building to support this promise. And if by the third ring it's ringing like the CEO, and the CEO will pick it up and like answer the call. Like they're that committed, and they can measure that. So are there ways to kind of measure what your brand is about? Okay. And then set reasonable weekly goals. I like to do things on a weekly basis, okay? Maybe it's blogs. Maybe you're like, my brand could really be empowered if I start writing blogs, Like set a reasonable weekly goal for that, okay? And try to hit that. Any questions? I'm gonna go on and, all right. So what's coming? So you can sign up for daily brand boosting to-dos. I have a form, right? Give it to Zach. You should be getting an email. I have personally written 5 emails. They're really long, okay? That kind of go more in depth on like the most important concepts covered in this class. It's not spam, and I'm not going to like email y'all all the time and like, ask y'all to buy from us. I mean, because that's not supporting our brand, right? Kind of have to practice what you preach. In the next month, if you sign up for the thing, if you'd like, I could call you and I can actually talk to you a little bit more about your brand. And then also do a 1 free brand strategy review. And it's just it's an hour-long thing. I kind of look over your brand, what I can see online, and kind of give you my opinion about it and kind of give you direction on how you can improve it. I like. Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? Any other comments or questions? Oh, yes.
So my question, I guess, would be, does branding dictate marketing, or does marketing dictate branding?
Oh, I wish I had this other slide. So, so branding impacts almost every side of your business. And I kind of draw like brand inside of a diamond shape. And on the top of the diamond, it's strategy. On the other side, it's, gosh, what is it? Strategy, and then it's like value propositions, and then it's like, outward experience, and then like marketing and communication. Like your brand impacts everything. And most businesses, they focus on like identity and like the marketing side. They think, okay, brand, here's my logo, here's my website, here's how the brand impacts my marketing material. And then the customer experience, it impacts the customer experience and the strategy too. Businesses don't look at it that way. They don't let the brand traverse over into the operations and strategy part. So how you build up this pyramid is really like building meaning into your business. Like we're creating that with the brand, and it's supposed to impact everything in your business. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got it. And just a quick follow-up. Give us one example of a really good brand and one really bad example of a branding that you've seen.
A really good example of it.
For the first one.
A really good brand. A brand that I admire, of course, I mean, I want to do something a little bit more like easier than Apple, but it really does embody like a really well done brand because it was protected for so long, right? And Apple did something unique. Like they stayed so true to their brand and what they stood for that they don't really even like, they're known for not even like asking customers what they want. I know that Steve Jobs said that like he doesn't even ask customers what they want. They just learned as much as they could about their customers, including like how a 5-year-old uses books, right, to create their products. Like they got so in tune with their customers that they created a company that people would just want it when they saw it, And they haven't let anything, including an FBI investigation and all that stuff, get in the way of what they stood for, And so I respect that and I like it. I don't own an iPhone, but I work on Macs. But it has a very unique, distinct identity, and they backed it up in all like across their business. All right, you go into the Genius Bar, right? It still retains that Apple identity, and you can tell in those employees that they have an Apple identity and they act a certain way, and it's all in alignment. Every experience with Apple is the same. I mean, I like it. Bad experience. A bad brand. I'm trying to do this without being like super negative because I know I'm being recorded. So we had, so my wife and I in our house, like we had some home services come over to fix a thing, you know, and online they were like really all about certain features. Like we didn't know them, but they seemed to have like, we were basing our purchase decision on like emotional things like, do we trust them? Well, we saw that they had uniforms, you know, they had like a scheduling thing on their website. So I felt pretty comfortable bringing them in, but I didn't know who they were. And I think we've all kind of had experiences like that. But whenever the person showed up, right, like their car had like a dent. I remember a dent in this white truck, and I didn't like that. And then the guy came out, and his shirt, yeah, it was a uniform. It was kind of wrinkly. Like there's just certain things about it that like, yeah, okay, he's a guy, he's working, you know, and he's doing his thing. But the presentation of the brand, whenever I was interacting with it, like totally threw me out of alignment. Like he kind of mumbled, didn't look me in the eye. Right, like things like that, and I just remember being irritated. Like I went on their website and it was like these people like really nice looking and everybody seemed happy, and then whenever I was interacting with this guy, it was like the worst day of his life, and I was like, I'm sorry I'm giving you business, you know, like I'm so sorry I'm inconveniencing you with like my money, you know. So it's like that, and I gave you kind of two examples of like how the experience, you know, was in alignment and out of alignment, you know. And how that conflicted with or reinforced my perception of it. Yes.
Great presentation, Scott.
Thank you.
So all the stuff that you talked about, in the grand scheme of things, how important is it, and where does it belong as you're like building a business? Is this something you want to get all laid out up front? Something that you can change over time, or is it hard to change after you've accidentally established some brand you may not have intended? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, it's a very, very good question. I think that kind of answering your second question first, brands are adaptable, okay, because the markets change. Your brand will change as well. It'll change with the needs, tastes, and desires of your markets, and possibly with yourself if you like are a solopreneur or you remain a solopreneur, right? So those things will change, okay. But that ability to change shouldn't keep you from wanting to put something down now, you know, start building a solid brand now. You can change later if it needs to, okay? Okay, I was going to say something about Chipotle, I won't. But and also Volkswagen, because they're going to need a big brand, like, change, right? Like, Volkswagen, for example, right? They cheated on their environment morality. You know, they lied. You know, with the emission standards. But other companies like Ford have cheated on like their safety, you know, requirements. You know, which is worse, cheating on safety or the environment, right? But VW also owns Porsche. You know, and so this brand will have to like go through a kind of a rebuilding, and people are going to have to rebuild that trust. I think brands are important at any stage of a business. I think at the beginning, it's really important at the beginning because I think it would like excite you, number one. Like I think it's fun to think like this. But also building in this meaning from the very beginning, it'll reduce confusion later. Because you might be small now, but that's no guarantee that you're going to remain small at all, okay? And so as you build it out, you don't want to be like running to catch up. Like, oh, I had no meaning, I was just trying to make ends meet, right? And then all of a sudden you actually have a positive cash flow, your clients are growing. Now I have to figure out what my place is in this world, you know, to borrow a line from Michael W. Smith. So,
I was just going to say,
yeah, so. Yeah, did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
So the link that he was asking for, if you go to the page on 1004.com, it's the one that's up the first one right now, but if you're watching this later, you'll find it. Just at the end of the text, it says get your 5-day free workshop or worksheet, something like that. Just click that and it'll open up and take you right to that process for Scott, and that's it. Thank you guys. Thank you, Scott.
Hey, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott.